Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Kavita. I'm a double boarded child and adolescent psychiatrist, and welcome to the Unlearning podcast. This is a platform that I created where we could talk about a variety of mental health topics and see what we may need to unlearn and how we got there and what we can do about it. And so today's topic is going to be it's a hot button topic, I feel, especially in this time. It's about navigating political differences in our family. And I have here with me today our very special guest, a friend of mine, Ashley Osman, who's here to talk with me about this topic. So, Ashley, welcome to the show, and thanks so much for joining us.
It's such an honor. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Uh, so, bringing you on actually has been inspired by our previous talks about this topic, and I loved what we, ended up bringing up in conversation. And so this is how we're here. A good place to start is, talking about what we had to maybe navigate uh, in our families, and then highlighting maybe some of the things that we all may need to unlearn or bring awareness to that may be getting in the way of having more cohesiveness and or things that could help maybe bring down the tension that may be there.
Yeah.
Not even just in families, but we're experiencing it in friend groups and at work and obviously nationally, globally. So,
I feel like I've had an interesting journey because I kind of came from a very specific background, and then I moved away from family and friends, just like things that I knew for I was like 26 when I moved away. So for a really long time, like, you live in a certain area, you grow up with the same people, you grow up with your family, and then you learn a very specific way of living, a way of being.
mhm.
And then when you move away, it's challenging to then be placed in certain situations where you're like, oh, like it challenges you, it
Yeah.
challenges some of the beliefs that you've always had. It just challenges you in a lot of different ways. And so that's
hmm
kind of what happened to me when I moved away, and I moved to a very different place demographically. Um,
mm
a lot of like Orlando is a very big melting pot. So there's lots of people from different cultures
mm
here. And so it was just so neat, in my opinion, to move away and learn about that kind of stuff. And so then
mm
I don't know how familiar you are with the Enneagram. I feel like we've talked about this before.
Oh, we have,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I am a type six. For all those who know what Enneagram is, that type six is called the loyalist. And so I can be like the anxious type. But the second Enneagram type that I relate most to, the second
hmm
type, is a type five. So I'm an investigator. So I'm somebody who wants to know the truth about things. I like to have knowledge and like know what I'm talking about when I talk about certain things. And so I think when
mm
I moved away and I moved away from my family and friends, and then like with all the things going on, of course, politically and just,
hmm
being on social media, which is a tough place to be on right now, because I think it's very divisive. I
mm
just feel like I started doing my own kind of investigating on, I was sick of reading headlines and being like, I don't understand what's going on here. Like, I really don't get it. And so I feel like for me, I just did a lot of investigating and a lot of talking to people with different opinions and different views. And I don't know, it just really made me open my eyes in a lot of ways that
mm.
my eyes were never opened before, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love that you're bringing up the like being the investigator and coming from a place of curiosity, because I think that's where we can be able to come together more so versus being combative and reactive, and also being a knowledge seeker, you
Yeah.
know, and doing your own research, I think, is definitely important. And at the same time, I feel if we're getting our knowledge and doing our research on social media, where the algorithms are set in a certain way to feed that confirmation bias, and even if you Google something, if you, depending on the way you phrase the question, also can then kind of reinforce or feed that confirmation bias. So there's that too to be aware of, or kind of, I think, unlearn or take a step back from. Um, and so, yeah, those are two very great points I love that you bring up, because I think if we can keep that in mind, to be curious and not just go off of emotion and be reactive, like, ooh, I don't like that. Ooh, or because there's going to be disagreement.
Yeah.
Um, I think another thing maybe to possibly unlearn is that, does love mean we always agree? Not necessarily,
Right.
right? How can we navigate being able to have different ideologies and differences in opinion, um, even, like in the family or among our like support network, the people we love and the people that are, in our circle, uh, because I think there's a lot of tension when there's such differences. And but then that's where the divisiveness is happening. And I mean, morality is also being brought into it, so then that makes it more difficult.
Right.
And does it really mean there are morality differences? I know it does seem that way. And at the same time, I always think about how at the end of the day, we all want the same things. We all want to, be happy and live a healthy, good life and provide for our family and, uh, you know, be fulfilled. And we all want these same things. And they feel forgotten with all like the fighting.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
hard. It's really hard. I loved when you were sending me the things we were going to discuss, and a
Yes.
thing that I was really looking, well, not really looking into because I have a lot of experience with this, but is the black
Yeah.
and white thinking. Is
Yes.
people who just think like it's absolutely this or it's absolutely that, and there's no in between. And I just don't believe
Mm-hmm.
that's true. I also think that black and white thinking is very toxic. Um, I just think though a lot of people inherit that. I think a lot of it's learned from early on, this black and white thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, you always have to be productive or you're not good enough, or
Mm-hmm.
um uh oh, what's the other one? You're right. If you
Mm-hmm.
disagree with me, you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Right.
totally wrong. And that's kind of like something that I used to think, like I used to think like, oh, well, if this person doesn't agree with me, they must be, it's like I
Right.
just the way that I grew up and the things that I thought were true or some of the beliefs that I used to have. But that's just not the way that life works. It just isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's important for people to challenge themselves and ask themselves when they start to get into this like mindset of, oh, like this black and white thinking, who taught me that? Where did I learn that from?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Where did I learn that from? And does it actually hold up in real life? Does that way of thinking actually hold up? I don't think most of the time that it does. And then would I apply this rule to someone I love? That's a good one. Would
Mm-hmm.
I apply these absolutes to someone that I care and love about, or
Mm-hmm.
somebody I love and care about? I would say most of the time the answer is going to be no. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
and I also think too, in addition to that, something also is that a lot of this black and white thinking is fear based.
Yes.
It's out of
Yes.
fear. And I think it's often developed, like this black and white thinking is often developed to keep you safe. It's like a
Yeah.
old, like, I don't know, it's
Mm-hmm.
like this old, like,
Defense mechanism.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly
Yes.
it. Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so true. I feel like it definitely boils down to that, because it's safer and easier to think in black and white versus appreciating the complexities of how things really are, like the true nature of it and the gray. Because the reality is, life is gray. There are layers, there are complexities. Human beings are complex, and the way we think and behave, and all of that. Like it's all coming from the human brain, which is a beautiful and complex organ. I'm biased, obviously, but there's truth to that. And but then I think part of that is because it does take more effort, like cognitive mental effort, to challenge oneself, which I think that is, like you said, the way to be. Um, to look at the way we think and our beliefs. Are they inherited? Are they learned? And then challenging that does require and need you need to pull more effort for that mentally to do
Yeah.
that. And so if we're in survival mode, we may not want to do that or even think to do that. And like you said too, it's there's definitely this fear basis there and safety, so is that something else that we need to unlearn? I think so. Like, okay, just because someone disagrees with me, like paying attention to what's going on in our bodies. Are we feeling not safe because of that? Because that doesn't mean that we're not safe. uh, the fear, I feel like, too, is what we disagree about. It's like something that we're not understanding or that's unfamiliar. And then the unknown is what brings about fear for us. So I love that you brought up that point. That's a good point. Um, and like you said, absolutes too, because that's what black and white thinking is. It's like either you're all right or all wrong, and I'm right or all wrong. And it's like, wait a minute.
Mm-mm.
No, hold on. How can that be? And,
Yeah.
and I love you also brought up that could be picked up earlier on, because that is how kids especially think a lot of the time. Like as they're growing and developing, they can expand in the way they think. But definitely I think there may be some no judgment, but like arrested development where it's like you can get maybe stuck in that. Um, and but it could still be worked upon. Like that's the beauty of the brain, where there's what's called neuroplasticity. Like we can become more mentally flexible if we want to. It starts with being aware of these kind of things going on in our mind and how we're interacting with each other.
I agree. I think
Oh.
what's super important to also remember is that people come from different life experiences. Like we all come from a different background. We all had different parents. We all came from somewhere different. Like we're not all going to think the same. And I think that if we did, it would be very boring.
Mm,
That's so boring.
world.
You know,
Yeah.
I actually really like to talk to people about what they think about like various topics. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? I like to hear other people's opinions because I think that's
Mm,
cool. I mean, there might be a perspective that I never thought of. And I think that's super important for us to be able to have conversations with people and not
mm,
be offended. I think a lot of times it has to do with identity. You know, people
mm.
are, their identity is I'm Republican or I'm Democrat. That's just an example. Or
Right.
I'm a Christian or I'm a Muslim. And then when somebody
Mm,
says, hey, or maybe I'm different, or I don't believe this, or I don't believe that, or I have a different opinion or view, it's almost like they feel like threatened, like their identity is threatened.
mhm.
I think that that's a big part of, I think, what's happening today is that when somebody questions somebody or challenges them, I like to use the word challenge because I think we
Yeah.
all need to be challenged. Um,
Yes.
but it's just this, I mean, everybody just gets so offended. And I
Hmm.
feel like it's a really important to understand that just because somebody doesn't, believe in the same thing as you or have the
Mm,
same background or the same experiences, it doesn't mean that they're not, doesn't mean that they're
mhm.
wrong, you know?
Right. Yeah, definitely. I love that you're bringing up the different backgrounds point, because that's true. And life would be boring, or the world would be boring if we were all the
Totally.
same and thought the same. We wouldn't grow and be innovative and like the species we are today if we all thought and believed the same
I
things.
know. I
How would
know.
we grow like as people, and mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all of
Yeah.
that. um, yeah, another good point you brought up is that it if we hear that someone's from a different background, we may feel threatened, like as if that threatens our identity. When it doesn't, it has nothing to do with that. It's not meant to be. And yet, that's where a lot of minds are going, it looks like. And why? There's definitely this sense of tribalism, I
Yeah.
feel.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then, oh, you're in that tribe. Oh, that's different than my tribe. I don't know about you. Like, I don't know if I can trust you. It's like as if this, like, these kind of thoughts come up. I don't know if I could believe you. I don't know if I could trust you. I don't know if you're good. Like, it's like judging like a person, right? Like right off the bat,
Yeah.
and prematurely. And I think that's happening politically too, and that may be even happening in families. Like there's these assumptions that are coming up, and without having like the hard conversation. And I know it would invite all of us to be more like vulnerable and sitting with uncomfortable emotions of like, ooh, I really don't agree with that. However, this is my mom or dad or my grandfather or sister, and because they are my loved one. I think sitting with that too and learning how to be more comfortable with feeling uncomfortable
Oh
is
yeah.
another part of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
I think it's hard when you disagree with anyone. Like it's just hard, like especially with family or maybe some close friends you have. It's really hard to disagree. I mean,
Mm.
it's not easy,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
I think what's really important is, respecting each other and then also just trying to be understanding. Like, where is this person coming from? Why do they feel this way?
Hmm.
I think I've
Hmm.
learned anything, or if I've learned anything over the last like 2 or 3 years, is that before I start casting any type of judgment on somebody or thinking, oh, well, this person must be this, or oh, this,
Hmm.
you kind of have to think like, oh, well, but recently they went through a trauma, or recently, like, we don't know. Like, that's the
Hmm.
thing I think that a lot of people don't think about really don't know what goes on behind closed doors with people. We don't
Hmm.
know what they're going through. We don't know why they feel this way. And sometimes people don't want to talk about that, but I just feel like having
Right.
like kindness, love towards that person, respect, maybe
Hmm.
empathy. Empathy is, I can talk about that
Yes.
for a long time,
I,
but
Me too.
I
Yeah.
could, I really could. But, but anyway, it just, I feel like just like just being careful what you say and the judgments you cast on people because you really don't know what they're going through. And
Hmm.
that's something I've really learned and honed in on recently.
I love that you've done that, especially recently. And uh, I love that you brought up empathy because it's actually a skill set. And
Yes.
if you are, setting that intention, like it starts with that, I feel like if you know that you want to come from a place of empathy and curiosity and
Yeah.
kindness, I feel like it starts with thinking about those things and wanting that and setting that intention. And then it takes practice. Not
Mhm.
easy. I'm glad you brought that up too, because yeah, it doesn't feel good when you're disagreeing with someone, especially someone you love. It
Yeah.
it doesn't feel good. And I think it's important to be mindful of what comes up for you emotionally and when you are triggered and being aware of that during those conversations. And then learning how to navigate that in real time. And then also knowing when you may need to take a break. And that's okay too. If you're noticing you're feeling too much, it's okay to say, well, I just need to take a break from this right now. Can we come back to it later? Which is totally okay too.
Yeah. Yeah. Walking your way and knowing when to set healthy boundaries.
Yes.
Yeah. Because there has been times where I've had to set boundaries where I'm like, okay, this isn't a healthy conversation anymore. And it's just
Yeah.
time to not talk about this anymore. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Healthy
Mm-hmm.
boundaries. And then you're right, like, oh, I'm triggered. Maybe I should walk away. Maybe I should, take a walk outside. There's so many things you can do when you're triggered. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I get
Exactly.
anxious. I have a lot of anxiety issues that I am currently working on and dealing with. But if somebody has like if they're feeling anxious or they're feeling attacked, like taking a deep breath, realizing that maybe that person wasn't really trying to attack you, you know, like it's
Mm.
also back to the empathy thing. So I am reading
Yeah.
a book about childhood development
Mm.
because so I'm pregnant with our second, and I just really
Right.
want to raise children that are loving and empathetic towards others. That's like a big
Mm. I
deal
love
for
that.
me. And
Yeah.
so this book talks about how you actually teach your kids empathy from a young, like you can
Yes.
teach them how to be empathetic. Like what you said earlier, it is learned.
Yes.
That is a learned thing. And so that's been super fascinating, like just them talking about how you teach them and,
Mm.
being empathetic to their feelings now. Because I have a 19-month-old son and, he gets upset. I tell him no, or I take something away from him that he shouldn't have. And they
Right.
say if you start showing your child empathy, like, oh, he must be sad because I took it away
Yeah.
from him. And then you talk to them, you say, I know you're feeling sad. I'm sorry.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Um, just stuff like that. Then they're going to
Yeah.
learn how to do that when somebody else is sad. And
Exactly.
I loved that. I was like, this is so good. But I'm a big reader. I like to read. I also like to read about subjects I don't understand. And people look at me like, why
Mm.
are you reading a book about economics? Because I want to know, I want to understand it. I want to,
Yes.
I think a lot of things, a lot of people, and we mentioned this earlier, get their information from social media. And I have so much I could say about that, but I feel like
Yes.
that's really leading people astray. And it's really leading
Mm.
people down some pretty dark paths because you were talking about the algorithm.
Yes.
And, it's like people are angry, because these algorithms are catching on to what you like and what you
Yes.
believe. And then all
Mm-hmm.
you see is that one side over and over and over again. And it is so bad for your mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the Netflix documentary, The Social Dilemma? Have you seen?
Oh no. Tell us about that.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. Um,
Yeah.
it's about social media, really.
Mm, yeah.
And they have these people that have helped create it or worked for these social media companies like
Mm,
Twitter. I guess Twitter is now X, um,
right.
Facebook. There was somebody who worked for Pinterest. Like all of these like social media apps, these people
Mm,
had worked for them. And some
mm,
of them had to get out of it because they realized how toxic it was becoming to the society. And
mm,
it's causing more division than people realize. And they talk about how they try everything in their power, these algorithms, to try to keep you scrolling more.
yes.
Right. And then if you go on Instagram, all you see is all you all you see is ads.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've
Targeted
noticed,
ads.
but like
Yes.
it's just like ad after ad after ad after ad. But that's the goal because they
Yes.
want to make these corporations want to make more money. So they're throwing ads in there, they're creating these algorithms, and it's really bad. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just such a good documentary because it explains, how toxic it's really become.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I decided, well, I'm so sick of like not being informed about this stuff or reading a headline and going, I'm not sure I understand this. And so I think with the and I'll give you an example. A couple years ago, it was the Israel Palestine when they
Mm-hmm.
that was like a couple years ago when that all kind of
Mm-hmm.
was that like
Yeah.
two was it 2 years ago that that Palestine
Right.
bombed Israel, and like it was a big
Right
thing
at the
in the news.
concert.
And
Yeah.
I just
Right when that
decided
started.
to look into it. I decided to actually start reading about it, not on social media, not on these blogs,
Right.
news outlets, like reading a book, opening a book, and looking it up. And it was shocking. It was actually shocking what I read and was very different than some of the opinions that I was seeing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then I started reading more, and then I started reading more, and it really, I don't know, it just really opened my eyes. So, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's the way to go about it, to read up and learn about it from credible sources, because social media, especially, is unregulated. And there, it's, one thing like, okay, you want to post it about how you feel and your opinion, but that's a lot of what it is. Even with clips that may seem credible, if you really look, sometimes there's some videos that are edited in such a way like it's not trustworthy at the end of the day. It's too unregulated. It's funny. There's this video I watched. Oh, I forgot the name of the neuroscientist, but he was saying how since Gen Z onward, where they grew up with social media and smartphones and these smart devices, like how that impacted their memory and attention span, where it is less than it was in previous generations, which is not a surprise. But it has a huge impact on mental health. It's a double-edged sword. I feel like there's also, good things that have come about from social media, of course. Like this is going to be on social media, ironically, to try to
Exactly.
say, hey, but more of like a beacon of like, hey, check this out if this can help you, kind of
Yeah.
thing. And I know there are other uh, content creators out there with the right mindset and goals and wanting to help other people, and that's great. It's just also there's this other side to it where I'm not surprised those who have worked behind the scenes, like in that documentary, have noticed, oh my goodness, this is too toxic, or what they're doing, like as far as the algorithms, they're hacking on our dopamine reward pathway, basically. To when you scroll, like, ooh, this ad's interesting, little hit of dopamine. Next,
Mhm.
keep going.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's interesting. Another hit of dopamine. Like they're totally like kind of hijacking that. And I can say for certain family members of mine, older ones, I feel like are more vulnerable to that, to the doom scrolling and just being fed, whatever the algorithm is giving them, and that feeding into their anger or their beliefs more so. And I know their brains are now with like over time, like are more wired that way. It's been, over more years. So then it could be more difficult. And then it's about going back to what we talked about, like how do you navigate that, and being mindful of how you're feeling, and even thinking about what are you trying to get at out of these conversations. I think if you notice, like whoever you're talking with, if you're noticing they just want to win, and it's about like converting and about getting you to agree with them versus it being like an open and curious conversation, I think those are things to notice too. um, where it could then be more difficult
For
if
sure.
there are those elements in there.
For
Yeah.
sure. For sure. And I mean, it's like we talked about the black and white thinking. Nothing's all bad and nothing's
Mhm.
all, good.
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 Yeah.
It's like there are definitely some positives that come from social media. I don't think it's all like doom and gloom, but I think the awareness that it is
Hmm.
causing emotional dysregulation in a lot of people,
Yeah.
it's causing, I think just having the awareness of
Hmm.
what's going on and, oh, I'm being fed this specific algorithm. I think awareness of
Right.
that is important, really.
Right. Yes, definitely. At first noticing that, like, oh my goodness, why are all the ads or all the videos I'm seeing are of this particular perspective?
Mhm.
Yeah. And stepping out of that. I feel like what's helped me is I turned off notifications on all of my social media apps like Instagram, Facebook, and whatnot, and have it in like a separate like category. And it's like so it's not the path of least resistance. Like it will take more effort to actually get into them. So I
Yes.
made it that way on purpose because they are addictive, and I don't want to be, having like all this time go by with scrolling. And yeah, I know that's helped other people too, where it's harder to get to. So there's that. But that's what I think it's important to control the controllables, focus on what you can control. We can't control what other people think and feel and the way they behave at the end of the day. But what we can control is how we conduct ourselves and how we respond. versus react. There's importance in that and remembering that we have that in our control and that's in our power.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
It's all about how you respond. The
Yep.
response is on you.
Right. Yep. And then wanting to, like that anger, like you said, because there's definitely a lot of more of this anger. You're like, oh, how is that a way to live? Like that feels like, I get that. I've been there, and I do still feel, angry with, like you said, there are certain headlines that are, and I think headlines, even the way they present them, are kind of in a triggering way too,
Oh, definitely. It's like
for
what do you
sure.
call that? Clickbait. The click.
Clickbait, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's designed that way too. And then recognizing that, and stepping away from that versus getting triggered and then angry and then sitting in that anger. I think there's the importance in that, being able to separate yourself.
Definitely. And what's interesting, let me quick add, I think Pennsylvania State University. So um, they did a study. So Penn State did a study about how, they put these headlines out, right? But people don't even click to look into them and look into the
Oh,
validity of it. I think they said 75% of people,
hmm.
I will send you the study. It's very interesting.
Oh, I want to know about that book that you mentioned. Do you have the name of it? The one about childhood development?
Yes, actually, I can get that up for you really quick here. Let's see. It's called Brain Rules for Baby.
Oh, okay.
It's so
Yeah.
good. It's so good. I have been so enjoying reading it. I'm like 70% of the way done, so I'm almost done with that.
Yeah.
I kind of like will like to read books, like multiple books at the same time. I'm reading two books at the same time, actually. But yeah, I've been reading it slowly. I feel like when I read such informative books like that, I can't just like whip through it. I have to like digest what it's saying, think about what it's saying, internalize what it's saying, and then move on, if that
For
makes sense.
sure.
So
Completely.
I've been reading the book for like, I don't know how long, like 2 months, but like it's been really good because I feel like I'm getting a lot out of it, but I'm also letting myself digest the information.
I feel like that's the way to do it because if you just read through it, which I have done with other books, then I'm wondering, what did I read? Or I like to take notes sometimes.
I think
uh,
it's so good.
yeah, yeah. And going back to that point about empathy being taught, I think there's the importance of modeling it. So I feel like the way we carry ourselves when, let's say, politics or the news or those kind of touchier topics now, divisive topics are being brought up, we want to be aware of how, the how we're modeling empathy and that curiosity and wanting to challenge each other in a healthy way and learn from each other. I think in the way, being mindful of our tone, even,
Yeah.
and the way we're asking our questions, that can make all the difference too, I feel. And it's not easy. Like you said, it will totally take practice. I feel like we were talking about earlier, like living in this anger is not healthy in the long run, and it's not going to get us anywhere, and it's only going to keep us further divided and in this place of hate, and that's toxic.
It is really toxic. It's really
Yeah,
bad. It's really bad for your whole entire being. Stress in the body
yes,
is just so bad for
exactly.
you. And then you're just going to become an angry, bitter person. I don't know about you, but I do not want to become that.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
really, it's really important to, like what you were saying, like your tone of voice, like how you speak, it matters. And so I've struggled with this, and I'm not perfect, but I've
Right.
struggled with it because I feel like, when you have, either family or friends or somebody that you're close to, and you
Mm-hmm.
feel like they've been misled or they've been lied to, it's like you feel this like almost like this responsibility to like tell them the truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
To tell them what
Mm-hmm.
you've learned and tell them the truth. And so I get really torn because I'm like, sometimes I'm like, maybe I feel like maybe I'm too passive where I'm just like, I listen, I'm like, okay. And then there's sometimes I'm like, no, like I really should maybe say something, tell them what I've learned.
Mm,
Not in a way that's like trying to persuade them. I'm not trying to change their opinion. I don't know that that's really healthy. Like we were talking about, like trying to be like,
yeah,
well, you know, this is
right,
what it is, and like hoping to
right.
persuade them, but just like telling them what you've learned and in like a loving way. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that that really goes far. I know I countless people and countless friends of mine have come to me and like talked to me about situations they've caught themselves in. And
Yeah,
usually, unfortunately, it's political.
yeah.
And the other person was so demeaning and so rude to them. And so, like, how could you
Mm,
believe this? That's,
mm,
just calling them names or telling
mm,
them they're wrong. And it's like,
yeah,
if you really believe in something, you really, in your whole being, believe in something, then talking about it with somebody and raising awareness about it should not look like that. Attacking
mm,
the other person, calling them names, making
for
them
sure,
feel like what they believe is wrong and
for
their life
sure.
experiences are wrong. No, it's just if you feel and that acting like that will never help somebody see the truth or see what your point of view is. It will never
Exactly.
do anything but cause division. And then that person's not going to want to speak to you anymore because you just got
Hmm.
attacked. It's like this
Totally.
vicious cycle. And so I feel like
Hmm.
if you really want to raise awareness about something, doing it with love, doing it with respect is the way to go. Otherwise,
Right.
your point is not, it's going to fall on deaf ears. No one's going to want to listen to that.
Exactly. That's such a, like, I feel like that's the heart of it all, because we're definitely in this vicious cycle. There's this back and forth of character attacks and name calling and put downs. And how is anyone going to want to learn or be more open minded and curious if they're going to be met with that? No one's going to respond to
Uh,
that. You're just going to, it's like guilt tripping and inducing shame, and we're not going to ever want to grow and learn from that kind of place.
no,
Definitely not.
no.
Yeah, but that is definitely happening way too much. And it just seems so simple, with just lead with love and respect. And at the same time, I can see also why it's so difficult when like we kind of ended up in this place. And then it's like, now what? I feel like we still can make that choice if we can open our minds and eyes to all of this. And you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. It's like that saying.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. How can we then, yeah, it doesn't make sense to
No.
expect that the other side is going to hear you if you're like, oh, why can't you just like, no, this is what it is. It's like, who's going to respond to that? Like, it's just human. No one's
Yeah.
going to really respond to things that way.
No, no, no. And also something that I wanted to, I don't know, just bring up or mention, and I feel like this kind of ties into a little bit, but like there's
Mhm.
like it's like if you, I don't know, this is so volatile today. Like if you disagree with like, I don't know, like some kind of policy on one side or the other, like or you say, oh, I don't believe in that, then you're
Mhm.
labeled as such. Well,
Mhm.
you're not really a Democrat or
Mhm.
Republican, or you're not really
Right.
a
Eat one
conservative. You're not really,
liberal, right?
but it's like I think my husband and I have really made a strong push to look at like each individual thing and then come up with their
Mhm.
own opinions based on things we've learned, things we've read, knowledge, stuff like that.
Right.
So I just feel like people are so quick to label you. If you do, it's
Mm,
like I don't understand. I just don't understand. I mean, I do kind of understand how we've gotten to this place. There's many
right.
reasons I think. I think that again, like the social media algorithms and stuff like that have caused so much divisiveness. But like, it's just it. I think it just goes back to the point of just like like being kind, being loving, empathetic, also just maybe cracking open a history book and like learning
Yeah.
history and learning
Yeah.
why maybe things are going on because so many people are so fired up about it and it's like that's fine but
Mhm.
like learn about it, learn about maybe why
Right.
this is happening so that we can change it because it's just like this
Mhm.
vicious, I feel like with certain things it's just like this vicious cycle over and
Mhm.
over and over and over again
Mhm.
and it doesn't
Mhm.
change because we don't learn. So I
Yep.
think learning and educating ourselves will make us better.
Right.
I really strongly believe in that.
Me too. And I think also why people may get fired up so quickly is because there's just the busyness of the day to day with work and then taking care of our families or ourselves. And then it's like, oh, but then the thing is, if we don't take those pauses to
Yeah.
step back and see why we're getting so fired up and why we're getting so angry, like what is it really? What is it really boiling down to?
Yeah.
Is it boiling down to, oh, okay, we disagree? Is it um, really just the difference in opinion? But why? We got to get curious about that in ourselves, because yeah, there's the busyness of the day to day, and I get that. And at the same time, if we're getting so fired up and so angry, where then, like, there's this volatility, like you said, because that's what's there, we're not going to get anywhere with that.
No.
Yeah. I know.
Stay in
Get
that.
curious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
curious. Yeah, definitely. I like that. Get curious. Don't be so, everyone's so certain. I know it, but like,
Yeah.
but do you, but do you
Hmm.
really know? Like, have you really read? Have you really investigated? And, instead of being so certain you know everything, maybe, like you said, get curious. Like, get curious about
Right.
a certain topic. Maybe read into it.
Hmm.
Maybe choose to have an open mind about things. I think
Yes.
that's a hard thing for a lot of people because when you grow up in one place, surrounded by the same people, do the same things, you only watch one news station or you only read one.
Right.
It's really easy to become very narrow minded and like, this is
Mm-hmm.
it. This is what I believe. I will not consider any other perspective. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like if you just become a little bit more open minded, you'll see that, like we've been saying, the world is not as black and white as people think.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And I wonder, like, even with bringing that up, I can imagine in others' minds, there would be this resistance, like, no. But then, get curious about that too. Why not? Uh, I notice if people feel like they're trying to be convinced, then they further dig their heels in what they think and believe. They're like, nah, But then, that's curious too. Like, why, why are you doing that? Where is that coming from? Are you not feeling safe? Are you feeling triggered? Are you feeling like, like, with the disagreement? Like, what does that mean for you? What is that bringing up for you? And I know you mentioned earlier, like the point of being loyal. Like, I think there's political identities that get inherited too. Like, if you grew up a certain way and your house, like, was of a certain political party and you grew up with that, and that's what you know. And so there's the comfort in that and familiarity with that. I get that. And it's okay to, if you feel differently, that's okay too. I think really being in tune with your heart um and what you want to think and believe. Like it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you
I
don't need
have
permission
done
from
a lot of
anybody.
that. I have done a
Yeah.
lot of changing my
Yeah.
views on certain things because the more you look into or the more that I investigated, because I'm
Yeah.
part investigator, I found out things that I'm like, oh, I can't stand for this anymore, right? I don't align with this, and
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting. I had to mention this. My husband always brings up, have you ever heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect?
No.
It's this, okay, so it's a cognitive bias where people with limited knowledge or competence in a certain domain, like a certain subject, right? Like
Yeah.
economics or medicine, that's controversial. Um,
Ooh.
so competence in a particular domain greatly overestimate their knowledge or competence. So it's like this
Mm.
effect where people are just so certain with the limited knowledge
Yeah.
that this is the way it is. But
Uh,
then on the flip side of that, the more they actually learn, the more they realize they actually don't know a lot at all. And and that happened to me because I was like, the more I learned, the more I was like, wow, I actually don't know as much as I thought I did.
mm.
And that's a humbling experience.
Yeah,
To admit that's okay if you don't know, certain
hmm,
things.
for
It's
sure.
okay. But it I don't know. I just feel like a lot of
Mhm.
people are experts in everything nowadays.
That's true. There is definitely a lot of that. And it's so important that you're bringing up it's okay to not know, and you can get more educated and learn about it. It's okay to say, I'm still working on that. It's okay to pause. Like, oh, yeah, those are important things to highlight for sure. But there is definitely, I love that you brought up that bias. That definitely is out there more so with the
Right
internet and
now, yes.
social media, especially. And
People
people
are
are,
looking to other people that they don't know for
hmm,
information.
right.
And that really fascinates me because we're living in a time where people aren't listening to professionals anymore. We're just listening to people
Others.
that we don't know on social media, which is
Mm,
crazy, just crazy to me.
yeah, I'm trying to understand that too. Yeah, like there's this distrust to some degree in professionals for whatever reasons, and that could go back to life experiences. I think, though, others who may not have expertise but are coming across as if they do, it's the way they're presenting themselves. If you sound convincing enough, you're talking with conviction,
Yeah.
and that's, you know, all it takes. Or maybe even it's just like how they look, and people are identifying with them for whatever other reasons. So there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that can be
Oh,
dangerous, and
that's
especially in
dangerous.
certain
It is. Yes.
circumstances.
We need more regulation.
Uh, yeah. Yeah.
Systems.
That's a whole other topic, I feel.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I wonder if it'd be good to summarize all of the things, or like the big points we talked about in what we may need to unlearn. The black and white thinking, I think, is such a good point because the reality of it is life is gray and there's more complexities and layers. And can we open our mind to appreciating that more so? And yes, that may require more mental effort.
Yeah.
Uh, and, that may be the hardest in the beginning, as it is with everything. With learning something new, it's the hardest in the beginning and it takes more effort. And with time, it does get better. I think that's for the sake of being able to stay connected with each other. Like, what will that bring us, right? Uh, to bring down the divisiveness, to feel more connected, especially with our loved ones, and not have it be as tense and divided. Um, and maybe unlearning to, does love mean we always agree with each other? Not necessarily. How can we learn to stay connected and respect each other's beliefs and remember that, what is there that we have in common,
Yeah.
um, and what may be inherited political identity, like how you grew up doesn't mean that you have to then continue to think and believe that way. uh, Learn, get educated, uh,
Yeah.
and the other thing is, is it about all winning? Because then I think that takes away from us staying more connected and being more united. Like, are we, you know, wanting to just convince the other person and white knuckle it through? But then that's not going to get us anywhere either.
No.
So,
No. No.
uh,
No,
yeah.
that's good. And then just not focusing so much on, is this person right or am I right or are they wrong? Just like focusing on conversation, like just talking, like talk it out. Talk it out.
Mhm.
Try to understand where the other person's coming from. That's okay.
Mhm.
It's okay to do. It's
Yeah.
okay to get down on somebody's level and say, you know what? Honestly, there's a reason why maybe someone feels this way, and I'd like to understand it better.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes. So get curious, talk it out. And like you said earlier, too, like I'm not perfect either. I think no one's perfect in this. And we will get triggered and maybe say things we don't mean or be impulsive. And, that's why there's repair after, or it's okay to have boundaries and say, okay, I need to pause. I need to take a break.
Yeah.
Let's revisit this later. This is something I don't know yet. And I'm, still working on it. It's okay to say all those things and have those good, healthy boundaries and know when to step away, especially if the other person you're talking with is kind of like, if they're attacking or being, combative or not having, they're debating, but not in the healthiest way. Recognizing that and also recognizing that in ourselves.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And then there was one more thing. Oh,
Yeah.
compassion soften. This is another thing I
Oh.
wanted to say. Compassion softens extremes. Like people are extreme
Mm.
about something. If you can be compassionate, especially towards yourself as well, that
Yeah.
that really changes the game.
Mm. I love that too. Yeah, being compassionate both for those, um, for others as well as ourselves,
Yeah.
and highlighting that at the end of the day, we don't know about what other people have gone through, their life experiences, and what has shaped them. Like, of course, if you look into it more so, you could probably identify certain experiences that they've been through that explain why they think and believe the way they do. And giving compassion for that is important too. Oh, and
Absolutely.
highlighting empathy being a skill set that you can learn, that you can teach and practice. I love that. Yeah, that point of it softening extremes. I think that definitely can help with bringing people's guards down and and the anger too.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that that always diffuses anger and people's
Hmm.
frustration and when they feel attacked, even if you're not really attacked, even if you're not trying to attack them with what you have to say, just being compassionate and just being like kind and like, hey, that's okay. Like it's okay that like diffusing the
Yeah.
situation is also okay. I mean, I think that that's also something you can do if it's not too combative.
Right. Yeah. But like, yeah, safety in a different way. Yeah,
Yeah.
because if there is a conversation where if someone is like that and you're not feeling like emotionally, psychologically safe,
Yeah. Yeah.
then it's important to step away. But yeah, thinking about like, oh, if certain conversations or if you're noticing there's differences, is that having you feel unsafe? I feel like that's another thing that it boils down to. That morality, loyalty to family, there's all these elements to think about.
Yes, so much.
Yeah, so much, right?
I feel like we could
Well,
talk for hours and
I know
hours.
we could keep talking about this.
Oh,
Yeah.
same.
Same. Yeah. And, yeah. So being aware and learning about, hey, okay, do you need to use like a coping skill or like kind of emotionally regulate? Are you feeling dysregulated? Or even noticing if the other person is in that place. So I think even recognizing it can help both of you, like step away if you need to. Uh, that's important too. There's that, and there's boundaries, and then there's avoidance. So I think sometimes that could be another way people are coping,
Yep.
but recognizing the difference, because if you're avoiding topics and not wanting to talk about it, not and afraid, then that could not be good either.
No. No,
No.
definitely not. I don't think that avoiding or I don't even know, avoiding makes me feel like the term ghosting. Like
Yeah.
that for some reason. Like just oh,
Mm.
let's just not talk about it. Let's just
Yeah, it's a ghost. Yeah.
ghosting that.
Ghosted. Right.
Ghosting.
Yeah, that's
That's
true.
just what I thought of. It's kind of funny, but
Yeah, that is, that is. Or I wonder, like I have with certain family members, it's like, okay, we agree to disagree. That's what it is. That's what it's coming down to. And saying that and leaving it at that, where at least it's been talked through. Um, I think there also is grief, I think, too, because especially now in these divisive times, I think there's more division in families where there's political differences and opinions, and there could be grief in that, in wanting everybody to be on the same page and have the same ideologies. So there could be the loneliness in that. I think recognizing that is important, and then knowing to where can you go and find your people, because I think there's importance in both. Where if everyone thought the same, it would be so boring. But also knowing, do you have like a group or a community or people you can talk to where you are on the same page? Because I think there's importance in that. Um, and knowing that everyone's going to have their own opinions and beliefs, and learning to be okay with that. Ooh, and it's a toughie, like I said, where morality and safety, those elements are being brought in. but we've got to dig deeper and talk about it. Like, is the other person really on a different moral ground than you, or no? Or maybe are wanting the same things? You won't know until you really talk it out. Let's not just assume.
No, it takes a lot of strength and discipline to do these things and self-awareness
Yes.
as well. Being
Yes.
aware of yourself and being aware of others and just it's it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you didn't come from a background where that was taught. It could be very difficult for some people to step into that.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. Yeah, that's true. Strength and discipline, it is work. It's not easy. Uh, I think though, if we can invite that or like even work on it a little bit, it's at least then going to bring us to a place where we're going to feel mentally and emotionally safer, more at peace and happier. Uh, because we're not going to get there if we're trying to fight each other all the time and win arguments or try to convince the other person uh, and if we're coming from that place of anger.
No, yeah, definitely not.
Yeah. Hmm.
It's just going to lead to healthier relationships over time if we can do those things.
Right. Yeah. These are interpersonal skills too. That's another skill set in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Being able to emotionally regulate yourself. That's another thing that's actually learned, in
That's
childhood
very
is
true.
being able to emotionally learn how to emotionally regulate yourself and
That's
regulate
right.
your emotions. That's actually
Exactly.
not easy, especially if you don't learn it as a child and then you're an adult and you're like, oh, like emotional deregulation, that's a thing. And I find myself on that path and it's difficult to learn that, but so worth it if you can work on it, if you can work on
Mm-hmm.
regulating your own emotions. Some of this political or whatever topic it may be that's like volatile is going to be
Mm-hmm.
less so if you yourself are emotionally regulated
That's
and
right.
have these conversations.
That's right. Yep. Oh my goodness. So, without judgment, I think we can all benefit as a collective to be mindful of this. And I think that's a lot of what we're seeing with all this dysregulation back and
Yes.
forth. Yeah.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
we need to anchor that part of our brain that makes us human. It's the prefrontal cortex to be the boss and not have the emotions in the driver's seat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Because they will run or like they will run things or take the reign and take over and rule if we're not the ones like our logical, true, best grounded self. If that doesn't take that on and go in the driver's seat, that's what needs to be in the driver's seat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Hmm.
For
Yeah.
sure. I agree.
I know. I feel like we could definitely keep talking.
I definitely,
I
yeah.
could, yeah. Oh, I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I hope for all of you, this has brought up some points that we may need to lovingly unlearn or think about and bring into our awareness, so that we can change and grow for the better, and to be mentally and emotionally happier and healthier and safe. So, thank you so much for coming again and having this talk with me. It was so much fun.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I
Yeah.
loved this. I enjoyed this so much.
Yeah, me too. Thanks.